the Endless Golf Podcast, brought to you by Toyota.
And welcome into another edition of the Endless Golf Podcast presented by Toyota. And joining me today is my dear friend and PGA professional and owner of Ruddo's Golf, John Ruddo. And John, it's that time of year. I had Buddy Sass on a couple of weeks ago. We talked about how to get ready for the 2025 golf season. You were on about a month ago. We were talking about more equipment and goods. And now let's talk a little Masters. I mean, this time of year, it doesn't get much better than watching the Masters on TV, knowing that golf season is here now.
Well, first off, Bobby, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's always an enjoyable day when I get to spend 15 minutes talking with you about golf. But yeah, Augusta week is here. It's exciting. I'm kind of excited about the PGA Tour and Live Golf players coming together for the first time in about 6 or 7 months. So it's going to be an exciting week, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think golf fans everywhere, whether you're pro live or not, it's great to see all the best players in the world for real together again, and some really, really good golfers, as well as characters and personalities of the game. I think that's what's missing a little bit. When you watch the PGA leaderboard right now, it's not as deep or as good as it used to be. I know there's some upcoming stars, but to your point, it's great to see everybody back together at Augusta.
No doubt. So what do you think? You looking for a Live guy to be victorious, or are you thinking a PGA Tour guy?
We're going to get into that a little bit later, but I want to talk a little bit about what makes the Masters so special. For most of our listeners out there, they kind of know, but I think the traditions of what they do that makes the tournament so much different. It kind of separates itself from other tournaments. And for me, one of the big traditions is the past champions get to play. I mean, guys that are obviously beyond their prime, and Jose Maria Olazabal and Freddie Couples. You always like watching those guys. Bernard Longer, and it seems like they catch fire when they come to Augusta. And it's the one place they make a point to come and play because, whether you make the cut or whether you don't, just being there around everything,
sure,
is an experience of a lifetime.
Well, it's funny you should say that. Bernhard Langer, this is his last year. So this is his last competitive tournament at Augusta, which is a shame because, to be honest with you, he's still competitive. He's obviously real competitive on the Champion Tour. And I think if he went to Harbor Town, let's say, on the PGA Tour, he would probably be in contention there, because I think it tips out at like 7,000 or 6,900 yards. But I know Freddie Couples, for instance, he gears his whole season towards this tournament. He played 2 weeks ago in Newport Beach. I follow the Champions Tour a little bit. And he gets ready. He builds up for this tournament. And these guys obviously love the tradition and love playing at Augusta, but I think in the back of their mind, they all are just trying, man, let me try to make the cut. I mean, if they could sniff the cut line and make the cut line, that's like winning at Augusta for them. Freddie's 65, Bernhard, I think 66 or 7. So, and it's playing, it's 7,600 yards. So they're jacking 3 woods and 3 hybrids into greens that, Bryson DeChambeau is flipping, 9-iron. So it's they get up for it. It's interesting. And this year is even more interesting. Angel Cabrera, who won this past weekend on the Champions Tour, actually just got out of jail a little while ago. So there's going to be some probably some talk of chit chat about that. But yeah, it's a great time of the year.
Yeah, he's kind of documented the tough times that he's gone through and the price that he paid, and he's back playing golf again. I'm sure he likes to see the light of day. Augusta will even look better to Cabrera this year more than ever before, for sure, after what he put himself through the last several years. So it's going to certainly be a bright spot, and it should be interesting to see how he plays. But to your point, I think that's probably my favorite part about what separates this tournament. I also think, the Champions Dinner. I think that's something special as well, where you get to, the previous winner, the current champion gets to pick the menu. Very interesting, very unique. And you can only imagine the personalities in that room, and just imagine what it's like having the dinners, the stories that go back and forth, just have to be, just a lifetime experience.
Yeah, believe it or not, and there's a fair amount of animosity going in there too right now. I mean, Freddie's got a big beef with Phil Mickelson right now. VJ Singh really never got along with Tiger. But yeah, for the most part, I'm sure it's all laugh and giggles and reliving the days of the past. Listening to Ben Crenshaw, he's such a class act. He kind of runs the show, runs the dinner. But Scotty Scheffler picked some nice American items this year. So yeah, they're going to have a good time. I believe that's Tuesday night, so they'll all get together Tuesday night. And I'd be curious to see if Tiger shows up. He's obviously not playing this year because he blew out his Achilles. But it'll be interesting to see if he shows up this year for the dinner.
Yeah, I think that would be great if he did, and I think it would mean a lot to a lot of the golfers for sure. But it's interesting because one of the other things that the golf tournament features is the amateurs. I mean, obviously Bobby Jones was huge into amateur golf and made a point to bring amateurs into this. And John, over the years we've seen some really good amateur players, and actually some of them compete, including last year with Shipley, made the cut and played really well for a while. Got to play with Tiger Woods. What an unbelievable moment that was. It was documented on Full Swing. It was really kind of a cool thing to watch last year. And it seems like there's always some unique storylines when it comes to the Masters.
Well, especially the kids from out of the country. I mean, unfortunately, most of the amateurs, if they play in the USAM and I believe if they either win or make it to the semifinals, they get an exemption into Augusta. But I think a lot of these kids are starting to turn pro earlier than usual. In the old days, you played 4 years of college and then you try to qualify. Now, a lot of these kids are getting out. Some of them aren't even going to college. I mean, they're getting out on the mini tour or the Corn Ferry tour and trying to qualify early. So, but yeah, the amateurs in years past, going back, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, were a lot more competitive than the AMs are now. But what are you going to do?
Well, I'll tell you,
times.
Yeah, it is kind of a unique situation with the amateurs, and it's a big decision. It's kind of like the guys in basketball. From Maryland, Derek Queen goes to the pros, very young.
Right.
There's just so much money out there now, and if you have the opportunity to make that kind of money, you can kind of educate yourself, and with injuries too. We always talk about the PGA Tour. There's no guaranteed salaries. That's and I think guys like Brooks Koepka, when he went to live, had to consider that. And you look at some of the players on tour now that have fought some injuries, and look what Max Homa's going through right now, and I tell you, golf is not a given. This game can be fleeting, and it can go away at any moment. We both know that.
Right. Yeah. Well, luckily with Max is. I followed his career before he played on the PGA Tour. Back in the Corn Ferry years, he was out there for a fair amount of time. I believe he missed like 18 or 19 cuts in a row. I mean, and to see him come around to get to such a high level where he played on the Ryder Cup teams, the President Cups teams, and won 3 or 4 tournaments, to be in a situation now where he's really, I mean, he's scraping the bottom now. He's really struggling, and he did switch club manufacturers this year. He's saying that doesn't play a role in his bad play, but it's tough to see. But listen, most of the guys go through some kind of stretch where they struggle and they fight and they scrape and they get back. So I expect him to get back because he's got a good short game and a good putter. I think he just needs to get it put together and he'll be fine. And a lot of times these guys also, they hop around different instructors, so their ears open. They listen to a lot of different people tell them a lot of different things. So when you're standing over that ball, if you're not committed and you're thinking about your swing thought or what this guy said compared to that guy, it can be, a bit confusing. But I'm sure he'll make his way around. And with Brooksy, there's no doubt about it. He would not have been on the LIV Tour if he didn't have that knee problem. They said, hey, let's see, I can work on my knee and maybe play the PGA Tour again, or I can sign with LIV for $100 million and at least if things don't come back, I've got some money in the bank for my family. He's got a newborn, but we'll see. And it'll be interesting to see how sharp these guys are coming to the tournament, because it's playing that LIV Tour. It's it's only 54 holes. It's a little bit more laid back with the music blaring, and it's not. I mean, it is a competition, but it's a different type of competition. And I'll be seriously concerned about them going into the first major of the season. Like uh, Bryson won the U.S. Open last year, but they had played a couple majors prior to that. So this is the first major of the year. I'd be curious to see how sharp they are.
Well, we'll take a look at that, obviously, but I got some thoughts on that I'll get to a little bit later. But I want to talk about the par 3 contest the par 3 tournament.
Yep.
Not all the players choose to play in that,
Yep.
but you talk about a fun family event and tournament to play in.
Right.
And I know the viewers out there, everybody watching on TV and on the internet and so forth, they love it because there's some hole-in-ones usually and some great shots, and then the kids get involved, the wives get involved, the girlfriends. It's just a fun time. It takes the pressure off before the heat comes on.
I tell you what I miss the most about the par 3 is Jack Nicklaus. I mean, listen, he was the greatest player of all time, and obviously I think he won. I want to say he might be 85 or 86, but I would love him to come out. He just stopped playing because, and again with the father-son, he used to play in that in December. He quit playing that, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. But I would love to see him come out to the par 3 and just hit a couple of shots. The older guys, like Arnie used to come out, Jack. So, the old guys are kind of gone. And I don't, now it's just, like you said, it's more of a, the husband, wife, kid kind of thing. It's not too many older guys playing in that like it used to be. And like, something like Tiger, for instance, some of the real competitive guys don't like to play in that because it feels like it's, it takes away from their preparation for the tournament itself. But I think, thank goodness, a bunch of the players, like to play in it. They look forward to it. Their spouse looks forward to it. Their kids look forward to it. I think Tony Finau has like 12 kids, so he's got like. They're running all over the place in their little white jumpsuits, so that's pretty cool. But it is great TV. You never know what you're going to get, and the shots you see a lot, like you said, a lot of hole-in-ones, a lot of good shots. So, and there's, you're really not supposed to win that tournament, because
you can't win the regular tour. That nobody's ever done that.
Yeah, no one's ever done that. So you might see, I don't like Scheffler or Spieth or someone. They bring their kids out, if they got a putt on number 9 to get it to 5 under, they might 3 or 4 whack it just to make sure that they don't win. So that's
they don't keep that curse.
What's that?
They don't want that curse.
They don't want that curse.
I look at it like they could be the first player to do it, to win the par 3 and
I agree.
The tournament.
I agree.
So, but another thing about the Masters, it's not an easy ticket to get, John. It's and it's certainly an expensive ticket as well. The prices are high if you want to get in, whether it's the practice round or during the tournament. But once you get in, it's a different story. If you're hungry, looking for something to eat or drink, the menu is fabulous and the prices are ridiculously affordable.
Let me just stop you real quick there. So just so you know, it's not expensive to get in there. If you have a buddy of mine has what's called a weekly badge. He's got 2 weekly badges. They're only like $350. What happens though is this day and age, they all flock in. All the scalpers flock in and try to swallow up those badges. But no, I mean, if it's all legit, it's the greatest value of the lifetime of any sport that's out there. But yeah, a lot of guys, it goes to a secondary market, so you're paying top dollar for a ticket. But like you said, when you get in there, I went last year. It's just such a well-run event. That's what listen, the golf course itself is impressive, but for me, as being a golf professional, being in the business for 30 years, to go to an event and have it be from the parking to the entrance to the shop to the different refreshment stands that they have scattered to the restroom facility. It's crazy. It's off the hook. And anyone who wants to run a tournament or a business, they should just go down there and walk around for 4 or 5 days, and you'll be impressed with the just the amount of customer service and just Yeah, everyone always happy, no attitude. It's just a great environment.
And it's the little things, John, as you mentioned there. You know, the attention to detail, both on the golf course and with all the other things going on, is just amazing. They just don't leave out anything, and it is a great experience. It's been a while since I've been there, but I'll never forget that experience. And I would encourage our golf fans out there, if they haven't made it to Augusta, to make a point at some point, because in their golf life, because they'll enjoy it. And just for me, just walking the golf course was the first time was amazing. So and I certainly encourage our golfers out there to do that. All right, John, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the tournament and get our thoughts on who we think
the picks
might be wearing the green jacket, another great tradition. So I have more with John Ruddo after this. Stay with us.
And now a word from our sponsor.
I love a good adventure, and my friends and family do too. So we all drive Toyotas. Tacomas for my rugged buds, and Corollas for my city crew. And I drive a RAV4 that I take camping, shopping, and basically everywhere else. We all picked our Toyotas because they're reliable and efficient and have amazing resale value, saving us money now and down the road, so we can make every day an adventure. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals and inventory. Toyota, let's go places.
And welcome back to the Endless Golf Podcast presented by Toyota. Staying with me is PGA professional and the owner of Ruddo's Golf, John Ruddo. And John had a chance to talk about some of the great traditions of the Masters tournament. Now it's time to get into really our thoughts on who we think has a chance this week. And you know what? There's so many great players, obviously the best players in the world here. And as you alluded to earlier, the LIV players are together again with the PGA Tour guys. So, there's a lot to choose from, that's for sure.
I don't know where to start, Bobby. There's
you got to start with the defending champion, Scotty Scheffler. I mean, Scotty's the favorite, obviously, and then you got to throw Rory in there because they're the guys that everybody talks about. And I think, John, the odds and also a lot of the people, because you don't hear much about them, are overlooking some of the LIV guys. And you know what? There's a lot of past champions on the LIV Tour. So do not sleep on the LIV golfers.
Yeah, I don't think we can expect to see much from the past champions from the LIV Tour. There's two guys I'd be looking at right now from LIV. I like John Rahm. He played relatively well this weekend down in Doral.
He's a past champion.
I'm sorry?
He's a past champion.
He's a past champion. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was thinking Phil Mickelson and Charles Schwartzel. But yeah, John has one. And then my number one pick, I mean, Bryson. Bryson, if he's in his groove mentally, physically with his swing and his putting's on, he's going to be tough to beat. He's so long. I mean, it's a par 68 for him as long as he hits it. He played well this past week in Doral also. I expect him to be up there. And then PGA Tour, like you said, Scotty's been struggling with the putter a little bit. And then everyone's talking about Rory. Rory's having a little bit of an elbow issue. I don't know if he's saying that just that they already have an excuse built in if he doesn't win this year. That poor guy. I would love to see Rory do it. It's almost like the Phil Mickelson U.S. Open scenario. Phil had all three majors, was close to the U.S. Open multiple years, couldn't get it done. I just hope Rory doesn't go down that path. I mean, Rory's been really close at Augusta. And, he's still young, but, there's a lot of skeletons in his brain right now about the past and just trying to get it done.
Another guy on the PGA Tour that's had some flashes this year is Justin Thomas. Everybody, I think, expected more out of his career. He had a great round a couple weeks ago, and then he struggled. So he's kind of been hot and cold, but I think he mentioned that he really loves the golf course. He feels like the golf course sets up for him. He's a guy that if he can catch fire, I think he can be pretty dangerous as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he's been playing really well lately, and also this is a Ryder Cup year, so he knows that he needs to take it up a notch. That's his number one goal this year. I don't know, the Ryder Cup goal might be, well, no, he would love to win at Augusta, obviously, but he definitely wants to win that Ryder Cup and get back on that team. He's really into the Ryder Cup. I don't know if I would. He's a little erratic off the tee. He is putting a little bit better, but he's been struggling with the flat stick. It's hard to look past Scotty and Rory, it's real. I don't really see a whole lot. Patrick Cantlay usually plays well there. So
And then you look at a guy, a similar situation to Justin Thomas is Jordan Spieth. I mean, he's a past champion, and obviously he's had his struggles. He's had some good rounds as well, but he's not going to be one of my picks. I can
no, he's still recovering. He's still trying to get back into playing shape. With that wrist injury, like he just played in Texas, down in San Antonio. He's been playing in most of the past events. He played at Tampa. But no really strong showing. So I hate to say this, but his time might be going by. I mean, he's not very long. I mean, he's long off the tee, but not as long as some of these other guys. And you start. I hate to say this, but I think he's on his third kid. Once you start knocking at those kids, you got different responsibilities. You have different pressures. When you're 26 and single and golf is your life, all of a sudden you're 32 and you got 3 kids and you're getting pulled in a bunch of different directions. It's a little bit more difficult to get zeroed in, but I just don't know if he's strong enough off the tee to compete now like he did in years past.
Looking back at the Live Tour, and there's 2 guys over there that you didn't mention that I think have a really good shot, and that is whenever there's a major, you got to throw Koepka's name in the hat, and he's played well at Augusta. And the other guy's Cam Smith. Those 2 guys are gamers. Yeah. The one thing I think that Liv has done, it's put a little chip on those guys' shoulders. They hear the noise about, it's not real golf. You can't play anymore. You're not. Believe me, that's got to put a little fire in their belly. And their 2 guys can get it going that are major champions, and especially Koepka, because he steps it up when it comes to major championships.
I'm a big Koepka fan. I always have been. He's not easily intimidated. He wants to win. But again, I go back to that sharpness. How sharp are these guys, competitively? I think he was 3 over this weekend. He didn't have one round under par throughout. It did play very difficult, so it's not surprising. But he wants to win majors. But again, he's 34. He's won, I think, 6 majors, maybe 5 or 6 majors, and I would love to see him compete, but I just don't know if that sharpness is there.
John, you look at the list, and I've got the list of some of the past champions that are playing. We talked about some of the older guys that, the guys that really have a legacy there and played a number of rounds at Augusta. But, it seems that this tournament also has guys that come out of nowhere. You had Danny Willett, you had Mike Weir.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned Schwartzel also. Matsuyama, kind of came out of nowhere, and he won. So there always seems like there's guys that you may think of, and you look on the list, and like a Russell Henley, somebody like that, and he played well a couple weeks ago. He's an older guy, and then some of the younger guys too. One of the guys that may be in the middle of the pack you're not thinking of, but who's maybe been playing decent lately, I think has a shot to win as well.
Oh, who are you talking about?
Well, just some of the players. A guy like Lucas Glover, who if he can putt it the way he's been putting,
that's the key. Yeah, that's the key. It's hard to work out that long wand around Augusta. But he strikes.
He got it going and won. So Victor Hovland, he's struggled for a while, but he kind of he's peaking at the right time. So. That's the one thing about the Masters you've always seen. It's not always a chalk fest where, the favorites like Rory and Scotty and those guys are going to walk away with the green jacket. There's always golfers in there that are especially up around that leaderboard that you would never expect. And so I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys can pull it off.
I hope you're right. I just hope it's a competitive, tight race coming down the stretch, because sometimes at Augusta, you get a horse ahead and they get away from the pack, and then you kind of just the last 3 holes you're just kind of, oh my God, let me turn the news on. Watch something.
Right, give me your top 3 players. Top 3 players that you like to win this week at Augusta.
I like Bryson. I mean, I would say Scotty, but he's won it 2 years in a row, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he can.
I think I know he's a defending champion, but I'm not sure about 2 years in a row.
Yeah. I like Scotty, and as a dark horse, you brought up a good name. He's one of the probably the best putters on the PGA Tour, and Kip Henley.
Okay, well,
no, I said Kip Henley is a caddy.
You told me Russell Henley.
Russell Henry, yeah. There's a lot of Henleys out there on the PGA Tour. Kip Henley's a caddy.
At least you didn't say Don Henley, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, well I like the Eagles.
No, you know what? There's
Who do you like?
I'll go with I hate to agree with you, but I'm a Bryson fan. I like Bryson. I think he has a good shot, and I got to say I believe Koepka is a guy that can get it done. He's played well there before, and I think he rises to the occasion. On the other side, I'm going to take Justin Thomas. I think it may be.
Okay.
I think that he's been playing a little consistent, but the fact that he loves the golf course, he feels it fits his game. I think oozes some confidence is what sometimes he's lacked when he's been going through the stretches. So those are my three, and this field is so deep, and it's such a competitive tournament. Obviously conditions always are a factor, and then we always say this, John. Any golf tournament you play in, no matter who you are, you got to be a little lucky to win.
Right.
And if you look at the history of Augusta National on that 12th hole, there's been some lucky shots won by Freddie Couples, which is is timeless. And but some of the shots that have been hit and some of the breaks that players have got when Mickelson hit it through the trees on 13 from the pine straw. Some great shots, but you get a little lucky. And as we say in golf, sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good.
Well, I'm gonna correct you on one statement you just made. It usually championship major fields are deep. This field is not deep. This field is I believe 70 or 80 players. The bottom 20 or 30 are past champions or amateurs. This is your best chance to win a major. If you're talking about just the depth of the field, you have maybe 40 players that I think have a chance at winning this week.
So you're right.
Probably 40 players where, you get the U.S. Open, or even like it's not a major, but at the Players Championship. I mean, anyone can come out of it. It's so deep there. It's 140 players deep. It's legitimate players. This one, I think you have less, and Brooks will tell you that. Koepka, he talks about that. It's not as deep as other events, and if you get it going, you run away with it. So I would love to see, to be honest with you, I would love to see Phil Mickelson in the mix. I mean, this cat's 54 years old. He's real competitive. He's been playing.
He played last weekend.
The past 3 live events, he's finished in the top 5 or 10, I think. So he's zeroing in on this. So I'd just like to see him in the mix.
Yeah. If there was one tournament he'd want to win, it would be the Masters again. That's for sure. I don't think there's any question. He'd be the first one to admit it. So, it should be a great week. It looks like the weather's going to be good in Augusta. And obviously there's not a tournament like this and a tradition unlike any other. And I know you and I will be glued to the TV and the computers, just like a lot of golf fans. So enjoy the Masters this week. And John, thanks for spending some time with me.
Thanks for having me, Bobby. I appreciate it.
All right. For John Ruddo, I'm Bobby Vermillion. We'll see you next time right here on the Endless Golf Podcast. So long, everybody.
The Endless Golf Podcast has been brought to you by Toyota.